Hey everyone, welcome back. Let's talk about Surface Duo some more. Now, as you know, I'm a big fan of Microsoft's Surface Duo line. I still do own both of them, even though my daily duo, so to speak, is the Surface Duo 2. We've all seen the rumors. Microsoft is said to have axed the development on the Surface Duo 3 as a dual screen device and moved to a more conventional folding device form factor with a folding screen in it. Some rumors say we're not getting anything at all, but it's fun to speculate. So let's go over my wish list for the Surface Duo 3. It kind of feels like there's two camps of Duo users. One camp that tries to use their Surface Duo as their phone, basically, without an additional phone in the pockets. And they want a different feature set compared to people who use it as a sort of small tablet that folds down and fits in their pockets. And I am firmly in the latter camp. So keep that in mind while you listen to my wish list for the Surface Duo 3. The first and most important feature to me is the aspect ratio. Keep the aspect ratio the same. For me, this is what makes the Duo the Duo. It is my favorite aspect of the device. I feel like I could switch over to a single screen, folding screen Duo relatively easily if it had similar proportions as the Surface Duo 2 in particular. The aspect ratio on the Surface Duo 2 just makes sense. It's good for consuming media that are in widescreen format, but it's even better for media that are in traditional print format or dimensions, such as comic books, books, and anything you would want to read on this. It does make it a little cumbersome to hold in the so-called phone mode. But as I have mentioned, I rarely use this, only when I'm already watching something and just want to keep carrying it around while I'm on the move. So for me, that's not as much a factor, and I don't want the aspect ratio to change. My second thing that I really want from the Surface Duo 3 is size. So I might be an outlier here, but I actually would appreciate if it was a little larger. As I mentioned, I read comic books on this, and it does tend to be a little small for that kind of content. And I would actually appreciate if it was a little larger, maybe right in between A6, which is currently about the size of this, and A5. So you would fold it up into almost A4 size, which would make it great as a reading device. Now, of course, that would make it even less likely to be used as a phone, so it's probably not as Microsoft is intending for this category of device to be. I was actually in the camp of people that were really excited about the Surface Neo when it was announced at the same time as the Surface Duo. Now, I don't really need Windows on this device. I have used Windows 10, I believe it was at the time, on the original Surface Go. And I got the impression that it was more a computer than a tablet, and I didn't enjoy it as much when I was using it like a tablet. So I would actually be firmly okay with a Android-based operating system on this device, even if it was larger, with a caveat, and we'll get to that. My third feature request is multitasking. So as you know, the Surface Duo is a multitasking first device. Apps usually launch on one screen unless you specifically force them to span right away. And I really think that is what makes the Surface Duo experience special and particular to this family of devices. I actually think that I wouldn't have that much of a problem switching over to a folding device if they still kept emulating that multitasking first kind of experience. My next request or wish would be the pen functionality. As you know, Surface Duo and Duo 2 are compatible with the Surface Slim Pen, and this works really great. I use Microsoft OneNote in pen mode on my Surface Duo almost every day, and I really enjoy it, though of course it does have its bugs. And though I've only doodled a little bit, it also seems that more higher end software such as Clip Studio Pro work just as well on the Surface Duo. Now this is one area where the hinge gap actually is a significant hindrance, and it would actually work better with a single continuous screen as long as the crease is well controlled. I think it would be actually a significant improvement. Now that would, of course, if you're using it like me, using the pen functionality every day, create some concerns about longevity and durability. And if Microsoft could build out the pen functionality to something like Samsung, who of course has a head start, has on their devices with multiple apps that are built in that are ready for the pen, then I think it could turn into a really, really good thing for productivity. The next thing is, I feel, a given, since this would come out in a year or two, it would have to get updated internals. Now, the Surface Duo 2 still runs pretty well in my opinion. Of course, I'm not a heavy gamer or anything, but of course I would appreciate performance updates, especially I've noticed in Clip Studio Pro. If you go into some of the more demanding brushes, it does slow down a little bit. And that is one of the areas, one of the few areas I would say, where you can actually significantly feel the difference in internals between the original Surface Duo and the Surface Duo 2. But they are still running pretty well, I think, especially considering the Surface Duo's originals age. I think it's aged pretty well. Now, next on my list is, of course, the camera. For me, what I feel would be a significant improvement on this device would be improving the front-facing camera. I usually don't use the back-facing camera, as you know. If you have watched my other videos, I've actually taken it off. Of course, I don't hate the concept of a back-facing camera. It just makes the device, which should behave like a tablet, rock on the table. It also hinders the functionality of folding shut the other way around. That is, of course, particular to the Surface Duo. So I felt like I didn't need it and I took it off, and I don't need an improvement on that respect. I do think they made it a little thicker than it should have actually needed, considering that it doesn't have a huge telephoto zoom or anything. It's actually a pretty basic setup of cameras that I feel wouldn't have needed that huge camera bump, but I'm running. So if the bump was well controlled and done in a way that it doesn't affect the functionality of the device when it's lying on the table, then I would be perfectly okay with having that camera on the back there. But it would, of course, need some improvements. I do think that the cameras, both the front-facing and back-facing, are not the greatest on the market right now. And if they improve the front-facing camera to a, I think, very realistic standard of what's out there right now, and kept it in a bezel and not behind the screen, which does degrade the camera quality a little bit, I would actually be perfectly fine with just having that one camera and being still able to fold it back and use like a half bin, or use it flat on the table, which is my favorite use case for this device. Which leads me to the most futile of my wishes, which is I would like to keep the form factor where it folds completely flat, is super thin, even when compared to the thinnest folding phones. And again, I'm probably an outlier, but I don't want an outside screen. I actually appreciate that this is completely protected and covered on the outside. I like this. I like the kind of feeling of shutting off when you close this phone and you put it into your pocket or your backpack, just like a notebook. I like that allegory, and it's also exactly the same in size as a lot of notebooks on the market. So I really appreciate that part of the form factor. And of course, last but not least, definitely not least, is software support. We are far from feature parity, even in the basic Microsoft apps like the launcher, OneNote, and lingering bugs in the system, Microsoft's first-party apps. I mean, Microsoft is not exactly known for its swift support and updates, but some of this stuff has been there as long as I've owned these devices, probably from the very beginning, and I haven't seen any progress in resolving that. Do better, Microsoft, please. Now, you've probably noticed most of my requests were continuations or improvements on features that are already in the Surface Duo and Surface Duo 2. And that's because I love this device. It's been the most fun, it felt the most novel, even science fiction-y of any device that I've used over years and years. And it's just so good. But I think it could be better. And I hope it doesn't go worse. And I'm kind of afraid it will get worse. What do you think? Do you agree with me? Do you use your Surface Duo in a different way that makes you want different things from it? Let me know in the comments. I would love to hear from you and have some conversation about this. You know, I love talking about this device, so I would definitely love to hear from other users. And of course, comments are always worth way more than any amount of views and likes. So I would love to hear from you. As always, let me know if there's anything else you would like me to talk about on this channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again. And durability.